A budget bed, 12 strangers, one shared bathroom, what could go wrong? Hostels, they're cheap, chaotic, and smell vaguely like feet and adventure. Like that weird intersection in life where you're running on 2 hours of sleep, 3 cups of instant coffee, and somehow making friends with someone who only speaks like 3 words of English. You say you're too old for hostels, but next week you're in one again. Don't even lie. Admit it, I see you. Here's why hostel life is pure madness, and why we low-key love it. Alright, let's talk about sleep, or the distinct lack thereof. Because in a hostel dorm, sleep is less of a thing you and more of a thing you to do. Imagine this, it's 3 a.m., you're nestled in your bunk bed, which is about as comfortable as a cardboard box lined with sandpaper. Suddenly, a symphony of sound erupts around you. First, the low rumble of a 1,000-decibel snorer in the corner. He's not just snoring, he's practically performing a one-man didgeridoo concert. Then, the whisper screamers. These are the folks who seem to think they're having a private conversation, but their whispers could wake the dead. And let's not forget about my personal favorite, the 6 a.m. rustler. You know the type. That one dude who decides it's the perfect time to unpack his entire life, every zip of the backpack, every crinkle of a plastic bag. What is he even digging for at that ungodly hour? Buried treasure? The lost city of Atlantis? The worst part? You know you'll be back in that same symphony again the next night, and the next. It's a special kind of torture, really. So, you arrive at the hostel, you're feeling good, you're ready to take on the world, and then you see it. The locker. More specifically, the locker that looks like it was last used to store stolen goods in a 1920s gangster film. You brought a padlock, because you're responsible, right? But the lock is basically for moral support at this point. The locker door barely closes, let alone locks. Your passport's entire security system consists of divine intervention, a prayer, and maybe that half-empty tube of toothpaste you shoved in the corner. And you know what? It somehow works. You leave your worldly possessions, or at least your slightly damp laundry and that questionable street food you're saving for later, in that locker, and against all odds, they're still there when you come back. It's a miracle. But seriously, hostel lockers are like a metaphor for the entire experience. A little bit broken, a little bit risky, but somehow it all manages to work out in the end. Just don't leave your valuables unattended. I'm not a miracle worker. You walk into the dorm, you see a stranger, and congratulations. You're now bonded for life. Okay, maybe not for life, but at least for the next 48 hours, or until one of you moves to a different bunk. Hostel life is all about these fleeting, intense friendships forged in the fires of shared bathrooms, stolen Wi-Fi, and the quest for the last clean towel. One minute you're making awkward eye contact over the communal breakfast, more on that later. The next you're swapping travel stories and planning a joint trip to Machu Picchu. You bond over the little things, like finding an outlet that actually works, or deciphering the hostel's free walking tour map, which looks like it was drawn by a pigeon, or that time you both narrowly avoided getting scammed by the same taxi driver. These friendships are intense, exhilarating, and about as long-lasting as a Snapchat story. Will you ever see these people again? Probably not. Will you follow each other on Instagram for the next 5 years, liking each other's travel photos with increasing envy and a touch of, I miss that life? Absolutely. It's the beauty and the tragedy of the temporary roommate bond. You share something real, something raw, and then you move on, carrying a piece of each other's stories with you. Chapter 4. The free breakfast that's technically food. The free hostel breakfast. 2 words that strike fear into the heart of even the most seasoned budget traveler. Look, I'm all for a good deal. But let's be honest, this ain't brunch at the Ritz. This is more like a culinary game of Russian roulette. You approach the buffet table, if you can even call it that, with a mix of cautious optimism and a rumbling stomach. Never quite sure what you're going to get. The best case scenario? A crust of bread that might be from this decade, some questionable jam in a plastic container that's definitely seen better days, and coffee that tastes like regret. The worst case scenario? Well, let's just say I've seen things that cannot be unseen, but hey, it's free, or at least it's included in the price, which is basically the same thing, right? And sometimes, just sometimes you strike gold. Maybe you find a banana that's still vaguely yellow, or a yogurt cup that hasn't expired yet. Those are the victories we celebrate in hostel life. Chapter 5. The shower situation. Let's talk about the hostel shower, a place of both dread and, dare I say it, a strange kind of camaraderie. First, the temperature control. It's a myth. You're either getting blasted with water so hot it could melt the polar ice caps, or so cold it feels like you're swimming in a glacier lagoon. There's no in-between. And then there's the privacy situation or lack thereof. Forget about it. You're lucky if you get a curtain. Hooks? Please. You're basically putting on a one-person show for anyone who happens to walk by. But here's the funny thing about hostel showers. They're a great equalizer. We've all been there, standing in a puddle of lukewarm water trying to maintain some semblance of dignity while simultaneously battling a showerhead that has a mind of its own. It's a bonding experience. A reminder that we're all just humans, trying to get clean in the most awkward way possible. Pro tip, wear flip-flops, just trust me on this one. Chapter 6. Kitchen Olympics. You've decided to be ambitious. You're going to cook a meal in the hostel kitchen. You've got your ingredients, carefully guarded of course. You've got your game face on, you're ready to conquer. But the hostel kitchen is not for the faint of heart. It's a battleground, a culinary Hunger Games where only the strong or the most ruthless survive. There are 17 other people also trying to cook in a space the size of a shoebox. There's one pot, no oil, and someone just took your clearly labeled avocado. This is war. You navigate the chaos with the grace of a seasoned chef, or at least the desperation of someone who hasn't eaten a decent meal in 24 hours. You improvise, you adapt, you make do with what you can find, and somehow, against all odds, you manage to create something edible. It might not be pretty, but it's food. And in the world of hostel kitchens, that's a victory worth celebrating. Chapter 7. The Random Event Nights. One night it's Taco Tuesday, the next it's silent disco with strangers you'll never talk to again. And somehow, you find yourself roped into every single one. Look, I get it. You're tired. You've spent all day wandering around a new city, trying to decipher maps, dodge aggressive street vendors, and pretend to understand what the locals are saying. The last thing you want to do is put on pants. Let's be honest. You're probably living in those quick-dry travel pants that could double as a parachute and socialize. But hostel event nights have a strange allure. They're like a siren song, whispering promises of cheap drinks, questionable dance moves, and the potential for hilarious stories. And you know what? They usually deliver. Sure, it's awkward at first. You're standing there, surrounded by strangers, wondering if you accidentally wandered into a hostage situation. But then, something magical happens. You start talking, you start laughing, you realize that everyone else is just as awkward and out of their element as you are, and suddenly you're having the best time. Every hostel has one, you know the type. He's usually wearing those elephant pants, has a beard that could rival Gandalf's, and smells faintly of patchouli and questionable life choices. He's just returned from a life-changing trip to India, where he found himself, found enlightenment, and probably found a few too many stray dogs to befriend. And he to tell you all about it, in detail. Whether you want to hear it or not, he'll corner you in the breakfast line, trap you in the elevator, stalk you to your dorm room, nowhere is safe. He'll regale you with tales of his spiritual awakening, his close encounter with a cobra, it was totally chill, man. And the time he ate a mango that tasted like pure sunshine. You know that little Wi-Fi symbol on your phone? The one that's supposed to represent a connection to the outside world? A lifeline to civilization? Yeah, that's a lie. A cruel, heartbreaking lie. Hostile Wi-Fi is like a mythical creature. Everyone's heard of it, some people claim to have seen it. But no one really knows if it truly exists. You see those hopeful souls huddled in the hallway, clinging to their phones like precious relics, desperately trying to send a single text message? They're the true believers. You'll find yourself contorting your body into impossible yoga poses, trying to find that sweet spot where the signal is strongest. But deep down, you know the truth. The hostile Wi-Fi is a fickle mistress. It will tease you with a fleeting moment of connectivity, only to vanish again into the ether. And just like that, it's over. Your time at the hostel has come to an end. You pack your bags, which are somehow even more disorganized than when you arrived, say goodbye to your temporary roommates turned family, and try not to trip over the pile of dirty laundry in the middle of the dorm. You walk out of the hostel and into the blinding sunlight, blinking back tears, or maybe that's just the sleep deprivation. It's a bittersweet feeling, this hostel life. You came for the cheap beds and the free breakfast, but you leave with something more. Memories, stories, friendships forged in shared bathrooms and fueled by instant coffee. You might not remember everyone's names, okay, you probably won't remember anyone's names, but you'll remember the experiences, the late-night conversations, the impromptu adventures, the feeling of being surrounded by like-minded souls who understand the strange allure of budget travel and shared living spaces. So yeah, hostel life is chaotic, it's noisy, it's sometimes gross, but it's also magical. And you know what? You wouldn't trade it for the world. Hostels are weird little worlds where strangers become family and ramen noodles become gourmet, where you can stay up until dawn debating the merits of peanut butter on pizza, or spend an entire afternoon trying to fold a fitted sheet with someone who speaks a different language. They're not glamorous, they're not quiet. You'll probably lose a few things, socks, your mind, your dignity, but they're full of stories, and honestly, that's what makes them perfect. So the next time you're planning a trip, consider the hostel. You might just surprise yourself.